I'm so excited to introduce you guys to our book today. It's called Queen of Beasts by Phoenix Williams. And this book was just so amazing because I really felt like she understood me. Like, this book was literally written for me. She made several references to anime characters throughout the book. All of them had some kind of anime quirk to them with a swordsman. I thought that was a really cool tie-in from anime to the character because she is a swordswoman. And then that Zoro quote at the beginning was just amazing, like beautiful. This was a amazing tie-in from the real world into the actual book. It connected. It was fun. I felt like it was for like the real anime fans. It was great. I thought that Phoenix Williams expertly twisted together this beautiful story. You have the connection she has with her mother figures, being her mother, which is like non-existent, her grandmother's best friend. So you know how those matriarchs can play a role in your life. When she was living in Japan, she had a mother figure there. So she had lots of strong women influences in her life, which I really loved. She also has a lot of connections between the families in town. And so those connections play into her life. And it's really interesting to see how everything runs through her and how she's the center point of it all. So I'm going to start where the book starts. And it's with her dying. I was like, so, death. All right, cool. We start off, she's dying. We figure out she's an assassin. She's 25, she's half Japanese, half black, and she let the love of her life kill her. So that's all we know when the book starts off, and I'm just like, so do I like this dude? Do I not like this dude? What's gonna happen? I don't know. Rewind, months earlier, the first time we see her, she's riding into town with this trucker. She gets out the truck and decides she's gonna walk the rest of the way. Homeboy pulls over, is like, well, you about to go ahead and give me this head, so get to getting, because I gave you this ride. She's like, I'm going to give you 3 seconds to back up before we have problems. He didn't believe her, of course, and guess what she did? Cut his hand off, because that's what he deserved. So after she cuts his hand off, she just takes her leisurely way to town, and she arrives at her grandmother's house. So when she arrives at her grandma's house, she begins grieving, and we see how she was really connected to her and how she wants to do right by her grandmother. So she goes to the bank to get the will settled. Her grandmother's lawyer gives her a letter. And in the grandmother's letter, it tells her that she needs to make sure that she understands everything that is going on before she decides to sell the land. And the only person that she can trust is her grandmother's best friend. After she reads the letter, we go ahead and bounce to a rival family in town. And that is Alonzo Leonis. He is the heir of the Leonis pride. Every family in town has a thirst for land. So we see his dad telling him, get this land, I'm ready to retire. When you get it, then you could take over. So this is forefront in Alonzo's mind that he needs to get this land so his dad can go ahead and pass the pride down to him. Then we also meet another guy named Daniel Farrell. So he's part of the Farrell family, and they all have a reputation for being crazy. So Daniel introduces himself at a diner while she's eating, and they flirt real heavy back and forth. And that scene, it was really cute. They're sitting across from the table, tit for tat. I really liked the chemistry I saw off bat, so I was really curious as to where the story was going to go. It's like you really don't know who's a good guy, who's she not going to be cool with. So I was really interested to see how it played out. So Grandma's BFF shows up to her house and tells Adara a couple of things. First thing she says is, do not sell this house and this land until you have seen everything through. Adara promises. She says she's going to see everything through. And then the old woman gives Adara a clue that is to take place in 2 weeks. Adara decides she's going to sit still, wait for these 2 weeks to happen, and then go see what the grandmother's friend was talking about. Meanwhile, her handler back in Japan says, all right, so I need you to come on back home, start killing some folks again. Adara's like, I'm not about to do that right now. I'm gonna get my stuff together. You'll see me when you see me. So you see Adara handle these complicated feelings between her being an assassin, and she really feels like that life is lonely and soul crushing, and it really is just taking a toll on her. And she's asking herself, what else is there out there for me? Like this piece of home that I've had, I haven't seen since I was a teenager, that is becoming a part of my life. And if I think back to that little girl and what I thought she would have, this isn't it. So how do I make that happen? So Adara is really working these things out as she is going through this process of mourning. So she's out on her porch, and while she's out there, she feels a lurker. She throws a knife at him. He catches it and then throws it back. So as she catches it, they have a whole conversation with Alonzo. That was the creeper who was in the woods. And they have a whole conversation about her selling the house. And he's like, you know what? After I saw you, I decided I don't want the house. I'd rather have you. So whatever, it is what it is. So therein, Alonzo decides he gives up his pursuit of the house and he decides to pursue Adara. So Adara has a couple of weeks of blissful dating between her and Alonzo and her and Daniel. So they're just, living their best lives. We pop back in a couple of weeks later on the day of the clue. So Adara heads out into the forest. She follows a crow and it leads her to what she was looking for. It's a man bleeding in the grass and you can see that he's hurt. So Adara goes ahead and she helps the stranger home and she finds out that it's Daniel's brother. So Daniel bursts in by kicking the door down, and the brother said a vicious animal mauled him. So Adara's like, this is all very weird. You're over here scared of your brother. He came in extra angry, looking like he was finna pop off. So what's really going on? Back at home, Adara thinks about her past. She thinks about the last time with her grandmother and she begged to stay. And that particular time, her parents dragged her away and they brought her back to Chicago. All she remembers is falling asleep in Chicago and waking up on a mountaintop in Japan talking about it's time to get to this assassination training. Later, Daniel shows up unannounced on his Gaston from Beauty and the Beast mode, and he announces that it's time for them to be together. You've been going around town playing these little games. It's time to get on up in here and be my wife. Adara's like, nah, I'm cool on that. We good. And he asks, well, who is it if you don't want to be with me? When guys be trying to hit on you, and he'd be like, nah, I'm good. Oh, you got a man? It don't matter. It does not matter. The answer is no. That's all that matters. Moving on. Adara tells him that he's trying her and he needs to pull it back. And he tries to rape her. She uses her, y'all saw how this happened the last time. She uses her katana and takes his eye out and tells him he was lucky it wasn't nothing else. She was astounded that he just wilded out and just tried to rape her like that. And Daniel is just confused that she defended herself. And he vows that she'll regret it. Adara tells him to bring it. She wants all the smoke. So weeks later, we catch up with Adara, and her and Alonzo been doing their boo thing. They together, they a couple. He been fixing up her house for free, and she tells him about her time as an assassin and the woman that trained her, who she named Tsunade because she was originally called the woman with no name, and literally she did not have a name. No one called her anything. She was just the woman with no name. So Adara felt so much love for her that she said, no, this isn't okay. I have to give you a name. And she named her after Tsunade. If you have ever watched Naruto. So there has to be some conflict. Here it goes. Her father calls her demanding she go back to Japan immediately. Adara curses him out talking about, I haven't heard from you since I woke up in Japan when I was a teenager. What are you doing on my phone? And she ends the call with her dad, and the last thing he says is, you'll regret this. A lot of people be bringing these threats, but do they have the action behind it though? That's all that I'll be wondering. That's all I'll be wondering. So Adara is in full-blown battle with 50 men once she hangs up with her dad. There are bullets flying. She's taken down 30. She's exhausted when Alonzo shows up. He shifts into his lion, kills the rest of the men, and then he takes Adara back to his place after she passes out. The fact that her daddy hired 50 assassins to come and kill her was just astounding. I was like, so you big trash. Like, I knew you were trash because you haven't talked to her since you dropped her off in Japan to be an assassin. But still, you said 50. And it just really drives home how much of a badass Adara is that he had to send so many assassins after her. And they were shooting bullets, and she was just, all she had was her katana. She didn't even have any guns or anything like that. So Adara wakes up. They talk about the town, her and Alonzo, and we find out a couple of things about it. There are 6 main families. Each of them hold a piece of land. There are 5 shifter families and 1 human family. The Mashal family, which is Adara's family, has the biggest piece of land with the only water source. So obviously that makes them the most important, and they have the most leverage over all the other families. Each matriarch in the Mashal line has been keeping peace between the families of this town, and without it, everything's unstable and there's war. Adara and Alonzo end up having sex. They solidify their relationship. They decide that they're a whole couple. And I really liked how the author put time breaks in the story, so it allowed the reader to fill in their relationship building in their own mind. So you feel like you missed the boring parts, like them cooking or chilling, whatever you do to build that intimacy, and then you come back in on the action later. So while Alonzo is in a different town working with his family's construction business, Adara, she really sifts through her feelings of what she's going to do with this assassination gig, of how she feels about Alonzo in the town. She calls Tsunade, and Tsunade is like, you were never meant to be here. Stay with your love. You have the destiny of beasts. So the whole book, I wasn't really trying too hard to figure out what she was going to turn into, but I was like enjoying the ride for sure. So Adara makes a visit to Daniel's family's bar because he's been playing them games. He's been howling from a distance all night, then moving closer each subsequent night. So the first night he was 25 miles or whatever away from her house howling all night. Then the next night he was 10 miles. The next time he was 5 miles. She's like, I gotta go and talk to my man because he acting up. He forgot who I am. So she goes in the bar, pulls her blade out, puts it to his neck, and tells him to stay off her property. Daniel's beta begs for her to be a peacekeeper and to help him keep Daniel in line. Adara refuses, and she says it's not her problem. If it's war, then it's war, and he could bring it. So 2 weeks later, Alonzo is back. He's denounced his clan so he can be with Adara full force, and her handler tells her to come back or she'll regret it. Adara refuses. She's decided that she's going to stay with Alonzo because she loves him. So Alonzo sets up the cutest outdoor movie date because he wants to give her the experiences she missed as being an assassin. And they talk about her meeting his family. So later they have a barbecue, and at the barbecue, Adara gets to know Alonzo's family. This is a really cute scene. And we get to see how Adara interacts with his mother and how much his mother and the rest of the pride really loves Adara. So Alonzo makes it clear that him and his pride will back her up no matter what. And if anyone wants to fight, they can come and get it. She has a pride behind her. So Adara gets a FaceTime call from Tsunade, and she immediately knows something is wrong. Tsunade is kneeling in front of Adara's handler on the edge of a cliff with a gun in her head. The handler says that this is the beginning of her punishment for not coming back. So Adara notices that Tsunade is getting out of the bonds, and she tries to keep the bad guys talking so that Tsunade could break free. Tsunade bursts free. She tells Adara to live her life, and then Tsunade grabs the handler and she throws them both off the cliff, killing them both. So at that exact moment, wolves start coming out of the forest, the lions shift, and war ensues. So Adara runs back to the house to get her sword to protect herself because she was at the barbecue on her land. She's like, I don't need my sword. Obviously, girl, you always stay armed. This is war. I don't know what she was doing. So when she gets back to her house, she runs up. She sees Daniel waiting on her porch for her. So she swiftly turns back around and runs back towards Alonzo. So, a little biology lesson. Everyone has like a sleeping beast in them, right? So, and there's people who are born with their beasts, like the shifters, and then there's like regular humans, I guess you would say, and they have a 50% chance of surviving the shift from human to whatever their animal is. And then you have people like Adara who have had her beast inside her the whole time, but it needed like some kind of action to be let loose. So she got bit by Alonzo. So now she's super connected to him, and now he's turned her, and we're gonna see her beast emerge. So Adara goes with her first shift, and surprise, surprise, she's a dragon. I love dragons, and usually only guys are dragons, and then the girls like pansy girl that's trying to get in love with the dragon, but she's the dragon. So I'm really excited about all of that. I wasn't really pressed for her to get her animal, so I think the author did that really well. Sometimes the author will just like dangle the transforming in front of you for so long that it really becomes annoying, and I was glad that she just kept it moving and we got to that so quickly. And I was so into everything else that was going on that I really didn't even expect the shift to happen this book. So I really appreciate that. Thanks for getting to the point. Love that. So Adara turns into a solid green dragon, and then she goes as her dragon self and kills Daniel and all the wolves who came to kill her. Yeah, Dragon don't play them games at all. Dragon relents for Alonzo, gives Adara her body back after they go back and forth, and 5 days later Adara wakes up. She finds out that her and her dragon have been going back and forth, learning how to share the same body. Adara burned down Alonzo's house along with a few other tirades, and Adara is introduced to the other dragon queens who are her sisters now. The queens inform Adara that a queen only awakens when there is a need. They know what Adara is needed for, and that is war. And that's how the book ends. So this book was so much fun. It was quick, it was fun, it was badass. It left me wanting to read the whole series. Like, I literally had to make myself stop, write this review, and then I'm like, okay, now you can read that you've gotten this done. So for readability, I gave this a 5 out of 5. The story kept moving quick, and she would write time in between the action, letting the reader put in their own idea of how the relationships progressed. Also, character development, I gave it a 3 out of 5 just because I absolutely adored the main character, but the first read through, I couldn't even keep Alonzo and Daniel straight. I don't think the author really delved into their personalities as much. It was just like, okay, they're both good guys. Oh no, one is bad. Okay, now this one's good, this one's bad. Like this one, don't like this one. But not really like getting to know Alonzo as a person, I guess, really wasn't the main point of this story. It was really to get to know Adara, which I totally get. I love the interaction with Alonzo's family. Other characters from the other families weren't introduced yet, so we didn't delve into any of the families that could also be vying for this land. I would have loved to see more of that, but I'm sure the later books will go down that road. For plot, I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was very streamlined, very quick, straight to the point. I loved how she introduced the main character. I loved the love interest. For the most part, Alonzo was pretty great. I really liked how they interacted. It was pretty predictable, but I'm not a stickler for a book having like a complicated plot or anything like that. If it flows and everything makes sense, I'm pretty much on board. And it left off in a way that really makes me want to read what happens next. For the cover, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I love the scales. It hints at her turning into her dragon, and it really captivated me, and as soon as I saw it, I clicked it and wanted to read it. Overall, give it a 4 out of 5. I truly loved this book. Adara is mysterious, badass, and she has some great comebacks. Her independence meshes well with Alonzo, and their relationship feels like the easy, true mate story that it should feel like. I definitely would recommend if you want something quick, easy, unique to read. And I'm really excited to jump into the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to get the book through my link in the description below. Subscribe and like if you enjoyed this content. Let me know in the comments if you would rather have the author write in the get to know you stuff, or do you want to get straight to the action? Let me know. All right, see you guys next week.